Welcome to the Monday Monologue. As you can see, I've been busy getting a batch of chassis fabricated up, and that's one of the things I want to talk about in today's video. But first of all, we've got our, I'm calling it my universal direct heated triode chassis, and I got some aluminum top plates that we can use for doing the ones with the wood surrounds. So I've got some of those here, and then let me set these guys over here to the side. And also built a batch of these headphone adapter boxes. I've had several people email me saying, wish I had something like that. I don't know how to work with my, I don't know how to build stuff, so can you build me one? And so I built about 5 of these things, and unfortunately, probably should have taken some deposits because the people that were asking for them are now ghosting me. And I told them how much they were going to be. They're $165 plus $10 shipping, and the parts are like 75 bucks of it. So I'm charging $100 to build these things. And they were like, sure, build me one. And then, anyway. So if you're interested in one of these, I do have some of these built ready to go. And they have tube amp friendly high level inputs, in and out, and then there's a switch on the front where you can switch between headphones and speaker out. And they got 8 ohm 50 watt resistors inside them to load the amp, and then got a volume control here. It runs almost wide open, and people are like, oh, that resistance of that pot's gonna, guys, it's running almost zero resistance. It's just here in case you want to turn down the volume while you're sitting at your listening position to like answer the phone or something or hear somebody, and then you turn it back up. So it's not like negatively impacting, and it's not a resistor bridge. It's just in line. And like I said, when it's wide open, it's not even in the circuit. So anyway, they sound really nice, and they allow a tube amp to function with headphones. So anyway, on with the chassis. And this is the back of it, obviously. There's the IC connector. I haven't drilled the speaker jacks yet, which I plan on doing like on each individual amp when I figure out like how many taps they have, what transformers I'm using. Don't have any of the transformer holes drilled, but I've got the output tubes, the driver tubes, rectifier tube. This is the vent little screen. This is the voltage meter. That's the switch for the voltage meter. I'm going to go ahead and drill the holes for the chokes because they all use the same choke. And then I'll have these ready to go to build some amps. And these 4 are spoken for. And let me turn this around because it rings when it's facing this way for some reason. I guess my voice is going through the holes. But this one's getting built for a 2A3 with ISO Tango output transformers. This is going to be one of the deluxe versions, and then one of them's getting built as a normal 2A3 build. It's probably going to have silver trim and no volume control for a customer who requested it to be built that way. And then the third one is going to get built into the budget 300B amp, which is going to have the musical power supply, output transformers, and simplified power supply, and try to do everything I can to simplify and lower the cost of the build as much as possible. And we'll see what that price point ends up at. And then the last one is the one I'm kind of excited about. Thermionic Labs sent me these output transformers about a year ago. God, this thing's still ringing. There we go. Maybe if I set this little box on top of here, it'll stop ringing. There we go. Thermionic Labs sent this transformer to me about a year ago. And I want to apologize to them. I just haven't had a chance to really incorporate it in a build. And I told them I wanted to compare them to these Tango or these ISO FC30 3.5 transformers. And they took about a month or probably 2 months to come up with a design which they felt was going to be worthy of competition for this transformer. And as you can see, this is a monster core transformer, and it's 4K. It's got 8 ohm taps. It's gapped for 90 milliamps, which is perfect for a 300B. And I did find on eBay these transformer covers that, honestly, I think they're the ones that ISO uses. I mean, they look identical to me, and it looks like this guy would mount inside this can. And so I got a couple of these cans ordered, and that'll look really nice. And I even think that big Hammond 300AX or EX, whatever it is, the one they have for the 300B that I thought was too big for the standard build, I think will look fine with these big transformers. So that'll give me a place to use that. And I want to see what these Thermionic Lab output transformers sound like. Plus I've got them here, so I might as well put them to use in an amp. So that's the kind of stuff I'm going to be focusing on here shortly. But one of the things I wanted to talk about today was, I get people fairly regularly asking me to sell them a bare chassis or a blank, not blank. They want to buy it like all fabricated up. And I'm not sure if these folks have either never done this and don't think it's a big deal, or they have done it and they know what a pain it is and they want somebody else to do it. And yeah, it's not going to be cheap. I can say that it probably takes a good 8 to 10 hours to do all the fab work on one of these chassis. Drilling out all these tube socket holes, laying everything out, not making any mistakes, D-shaping the volume control thing, putting the hole here in the right place for the power switch, putting the vent holes in the bottom, do the IEC connector, drilling out the speaker holes, getting the transformer holes all mounted and everything. And I've probably got 6 hours at least in getting to this point. Now, I am doing 4 of them at a time, but I've spent a good 3 days getting to this point on 4 chassis. And if I price my fabrication labor, which is probably low, at $50 an hour, that's $400 worth of just fab time. And honestly, it's part of the reason that I charge basically $1,000 over what the parts cost to build one of these amps. Is there's $500 of it's fabricate the chassis. And then once you get the chassis fabricated up, especially if I know how the wiring is all going to be laid out, the rest of it goes pretty quick. And then, part of the time added to that is testing the amp. I run them on the Analog Discovery 2, and then I burn them in for 3 or 4 hours, hooked up to my system, before I box them up to ship them off to make sure everything's working right. And so, yeah, the idea that I would be doing at least half of the work of an amp build, and I don't know what people are expecting. I've quoted people those kind of prices before, like it's like $500, and one guy was like, "Well, that's ridiculous." It's like, well, then you make it. I don't know what a realistic price should be, and if I can't get that for it, I'm just not interested in selling a pre-built chassis. Now, the other thing that I may look at doing, the guy that I'm doing the woodworking with, that we're going to take these flat pieces of aluminum like this and then make a wood chassis that this sits down in. I was going to talk to him about, would you be interested in building some extras and then, sell them on consignment or whatever, however he wants to do it. And it's still going to be just a blank piece of metal, though, that you're going to have to do all the drill work in. Probably would, do the IC socket on the back in the wood, so you don't have to deal with that. But the rest of it, again, it's on you. And I don't know what something like that should sell for, or if there's an interest in it. And if I was going to get in the chassis fabrication business, man, it's just so many variables too. It's like, I don't know what transformers you're going to put on it. And if you just say, oh, I'm going to be using these, and point me to, a picture of them, or text me a picture of the transformers you got, I don't know, like, where to drill the holes for that. And are people interested in buying something that, doesn't have the transformer holes drilled, that's got, that's, done this thing where you've punched out all these tube socket holes and everything, so that part's done, and then you just have to, drill the holes for like your speaker jacks and your transformers and mount them down. But still, the hardest part is doing this stuff and doing the layout, figuring out where everything should go and spacing everything. So anyway, I hate to say no to people, but in the past I've just kind of said no. And I know people have tried to buy those fabricated up chassis for the phono stages so they could go buy one of those boards and build it themselves. And I think I sold one guy a blim that I'd screwed up or double drilled one of the holes or something, and it wasn't powder coated and everything, but I think that was like $180 for that, and the chassis was on like $30 of it. So it was like $150 for fabricating up one of those, which I think I'd be losing money if I just sat down doing those all day. And honestly, the part that I enjoy, I don't hate the fab work, but I really enjoy the soldering, wiring up part of it. That's what is really fun to me. And I'm sure that's what's fun to you, and that's why you want to do this part. You want me to do it. And I've had a couple of emails where people said, I'll give you $100 to fab me up a chassis. It's like, that's making like $12 an hour. I could make that working at McDonald's. And so, yeah, that's not realistic. So anyway, that was kind of it on this chassis fab stuff. I'm excited to get these cans and show you what that looks like when I get this monster core transformer. I think it's going to fit inside there. I know it doesn't look like it will, but I've measured it and I think it will. So that'll be a fun project, getting that 300B built to see how these transformers work. I am loving those Summit PS Vane 300B tubes, and I just started listening to the Summit 6S and 7s, and I'm liking what I hear so far, but I want to give them, definitely about a week of burning in before we do a review on those guys, because they are changing a little bit as they're settling in, which is to be expected. And the other topic I wanted to bring up today was, I've seen people saying things about how, some audiophiles are just like, they feel like are gearheads, and all they care about is the gear, and, why don't you just go listen to some music and stop worrying about this stuff, and, you're listening for stuff that doesn't really matter, just go enjoy the music. And I get that, there's a lot of people that just put in some earbuds and they're fine. But I also don't believe that you can get the same enjoyment out of a Bose radio, Bluetooth radio that you have sitting on the kitchen counter, and what you get out of a nice hi-fi system as far as just getting into the music and really appreciating like all the nuances and everything. Because I'm hearing things in music that I've listened to for years that I didn't even know was in the music. And you hear just really cool little, details that are in there that you'll never hear over some, budget system. And I know there's a lot of folks out there too that, I get emails too, people like, I got a budget of $1,000 for the whole system. What kind of tube amp do you recommend? It's like, not a tube amp. If you got $1,000, please don't, especially if you can't DIY, don't go buy one of those little main China amps off Amazon when you could buy something like an AYAMA or a Fozzy chip amp and get something that sounds way better, and you can actually enjoy the music. And so, especially stick some Sparkos op amps in it, and it's like, you got something that sounds really nice. And I guess that's kind of my budget thing. I feel like that until you spend about $2,000 on a tube amp, you're really not getting something that for most uses is going to be a viable something to use. Now I know Deckware's got their little EL84 amp. I think it's $1,600 now, and that's a nice sounding amp. But you got to have $4,000 super, efficient clip speakers or something like that, 100 dB speakers to listen to one, unless you want to bridge it into mono, which I wish I'd tried when I had that one here. I didn't do that, but then you got to buy two of them, and then you're at $3,200. So, again, to get 6 watts of power that'll drive reasonably efficient speakers in a reasonable size room, you're going to spend $2,000 to $3,000 to get there. And that's just, to me, just the reality of what things are right now. And it's just going to get more expensive. All the stuff like these transformers are getting more expensive. Now I'm paying the wholesale price that I get on these as a builder is the same as what retail was 6 months ago. And so, the price you see is what I'm paying now. And I used to get, 15-20% off, which is pretty normal margin on somebody that's a builder that's buying, 8 or 10 of them at a time. All that's disappearing. And I just got a notice from the folks I get my tubes from, and I got to figure out what I'm going to do with this. Electro-Harmonics got a notification that there's a threat of 100% tariff. So it's going to double the price of the tubes that I use in my phono stages, and I'll either have to sell them with no tubes, which I don't like doing, or the price is going to have to go up. And that's just going to be the reality of things for a while. So, and I hate to keep talking about tariffs, but it's something that's really impacting me and a lot of folks that are dealing with products that can't be made in this country for a variety of reasons. And so, anyway, that's kind of what I've been up to. Oh, and I did get COVID last week again. I don't know what this health thing, I can't seem to catch a break. I had some weird leg pains, and then all of a sudden I got a fever, and yeah, COVID positive. So, guys, that stuff's still out there. And so, been resting a little bit, but I'm feeling better, so I'm still hanging around the house until I'm sure I don't go out and infect other people, but yeah, just can't seem to get a break. So, yeah. So what else? Oh, I did get some fun new music, and I think I told you about this, but it actually came, and it's Hugo Kant's new album, It Can't Be Done. And you can get it on Bandcamp, but it's also available on vinyl. And it sounds freaking awesome. This is a great album. There's been some of his recent releases that I just wasn't super crazy about, but this is really, really good. So go take a listen to this. I think you can listen to it on YouTube to kind of get a feel for it, but the vinyl sounds awesome. So I'm super excited to get this. It's I'm not sure who he has doing his pressings and stuff, but super quiet. There's no background noise. Really dynamic, and it's a 2 LP set, and I can't remember what it sells for, but it's worth it. And somebody did send me a link to another album or another group, Aria or something like that. We'll do that next week. I found their box set of 3 CDs on eBay, and so yeah, that's some really cool music too. It's kind of a operatic kind of music, but it's got a little techno twist to it. Sounded like, yeah, the samples I heard of it were really interesting. So, and the other thing I've reported before too, if you're not aware of Coke Studio, it's in Pakistan. It's a show they do, or been doing over there for ages, highlighting musicians. Beautiful music. And Unfortunately, I didn't realize that they actually sold vinyl, but I think scalpers have bought it all up, because the only vinyl I could see for sale were on Discogs for $1,500 a copy, which, yeah, I'm not paying that, but it would be really cool to hear that on vinyl. So Coke Studio is on YouTube too, and it's some cool music. So if you're looking for something different to listen to, go check that out. So anyway, I think that's going to wrap up this week's monologue. We're going to be doing the budget 300B build on the channel. Probably not going to be doing this build on the channel, because this is going to be very similar to ones I've done in the past. But probably do a little overview when I get done with it. Same thing with the Deluxe 2A3 that I'm building. That's going to be just like that 2A3 I just finished, except it's going to have the baby brothers of these. It's not going to have the FC30s, it's going to have the SC20s. And that's an upgrade from what I would normally use with a 2A3, which would be the FC12Ss, because a 5-watt amp, a 12-watt output transformer is plenty. And those work really well with my EL34s, but this customer was like, I'll pay a little more and get the next step up, which hey, it's your money. Sure, we'll do it. So that's going to be it on our builds that we got going on. I also want to play around with bridging my 2A3, doing the series wiring of the output transformers. I got to unground and float the output transformers to play around with that, but that's going to be something fun we're going to be looking at soon, and experiment with that and see what that looks like and what that sounds like. So that's kind of a fun thing. And yeah, like I said, I think it's going to wrap up this Monday monologue. Thanks you folks for viewing, for subscribing. We're real close to 20K subs. I don't think we've hit it yet, but if we did, yay! But I think we're still about 100 short. So if you're watching this channel and you haven't subscribed, hit the subscribe button. It doesn't cost you anything. The membership you have to pay for. The subscribe's free. That's just saying, I like this content, which you must, or you wouldn't be watching my Monday monologue. So hit that subscribe button. It really helps the channel out and helps you get more views and circulation and just the algorithm and all that stuff. So thanks for you subscribers. Thanks to you Patreon supporters. Thanks to you folks that have made donations at the website. Let me know what you think about getting into the chassis fab building, or, because it's almost like a consultation service too, because it's not, I can't just mail you something with holes all drilled in it, because you're going to, that's the other thing. It's like, so I can't find the tube sockets that you said to use with this. Do you have some? And, pretty soon I'm supplying half the parts to build the, where do I get the volume control if this is drilled for? I can't find the power switch. I mean, people can't find a 5-watt, 500 ohm resistor when I put it on a bomb. I've got to go find one for them, or like a test jack. It's like, come on, guys. Yeah. So that's my fear of selling anything that's incomplete, is what's it going to take as far as customer service after the sale to not have it returned or something, or if they want to return it and then they've drilled holes all in the wrong places and ruined it, and then they're like, I want my money back, and it's like, it's scrap metal at that point. So there's a lot of that to worry about. So anyway, like I said, that's going to be it for this week, and I will see you next Monday for the Monday monologue.